in order to improve your strength, flexibility, and the balance with exercises. And you will need to understand the benefits of each exercise and its functions and common mistakes and how to move in an optimal way. We're going to cover bridges today. If you want to learn how to retrain your body and then movement safely and then effectively and then move better, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every week. I am Taro Iwamoto. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner. With my backgrounds in athletic training, physical therapy, martial arts, and the Feldenkrais method, I have helped many people like you overcome and then move beyond the pain and the limitations. Now it's your turn, and let's dive in. Benefits of the bridges is that it strengthens the hip extensors and a little bit of the back extensors. But primarily, it's the hip extension and movement. And when do we use those movements? Getting out of the chair. It's basically a squat pattern. Anything that requires the use of the hip extensors, that is a lot of things. Squatting, getting out of the chair, walking, and climbing up the stairs, all those things require the use of the hip extension, your hip extensors, which is the glute muscles. And I've been teaching these exercises for a long time, and then very, very commonly you see the people are doing this exercise in a not very optimal way. And almost all people that I've seen, and doing the bridging exercise and for their back. And many assume this is the back strengthening exercise. It can, depending on how you do, but that's not really optimal and ideal. And maybe this is how you've been doing and how you've been taught to do. Lifting and engaging your core muscles, engaging your back muscles. And so the focus for many people is that to lift their back as high as they can to do the bridges. And then they're not really thinking too much about the legs. But think about this. The back extension muscles are they're not attached to the hips, which means that no matter how hard you are engaging your back muscles, that is not going to extend your hips. So what really extends your hips? The only thing that extends your hips and the only thing that lifts your bottom and your pelvis away from the floor is the hip extensors, which is your hamstrings and the gluteus muscles, gluteus max. So you really have to put your intention and your focus on lifting your pelvis. And then the easiest cue to engage your hip extension is to think about pushing your feet more towards the heels, down into the floor. And then that will lift your pelvis. And then that will reduce the amount of effort through your low back. So the back extensors are going to engage as you're starting to lift your pelvis up higher. And then as you're getting into the more extension, then the extensions of the back are going to be engaged. But they shouldn't be the first ones to engage because they have nothing to do with the lifting your pelvis, extending your hips, if that makes sense. So now, before you start, and you want to start and moving much more slowly to retraining the patterns. So to just down-regulate the back extensions and up-regulate the hip extensions. So think about pushing through your heels, down into the floor. And what's the effect when you push through your heels? Immediately you notice that pelvis is starting to lift away. That's because you are engaging your hip extensors, which extend your hips. Makes sense, right? Yeah. So you continue to drive your heels down. And then your back muscles extensors are going to be engaged as you continue to lift. And then going down, controlling, slowly releasing the weight and the pressure on your feet. And then allowing your spine to come down, allowing your pelvis to come down. and reset it, pushing through the heels, lifting your pelvis and the spine up. And optimal distance between the feet would be about hip width apart, shoulder width apart. Because functionally speaking, when we are getting out of the chair, that happens to be the position. So you think functionally, okay, why are you doing the bridging exercises in the first place? Strengthen the hip muscles, glutes, your back extensions a little bit, but think more functionally. How does that strengthening those muscles, doing this exercise, going to help you in terms of the functions? Does that help you walk better? Does that help you run faster? Does that help you get out of the chair more easily? So think in terms of those. Then it makes a lot more sense. Then you get a lot more efficient with the movement patterns, and then you get more benefits out of this exercise. And so I think that's it, and very simple cueing, right? Think using initiating movement from your legs by pushing your heels down into the ground. And as far as how high you should lift your pelvis, and that really depends on your comfort, and particularly your low back. But because you are working to improve how you engage your hip extensors, then there's only so much that you can extend your hips. And as soon as your hips stop extending, then what happens to the body as you continue to go up and lift up higher? You must be extending your low back. All the movement coming from your spine. You have to be aware that the higher you lift, it doesn't mean the more hip extensors that you are engaging, because you run out of the hip extension, and then all the rest of the movement is coming from your lumbar extension. If that's the goal, and you can do that, but please be aware if you have a sensitive back, and if you know that you want to accomplish and then gain the benefits from this exercise and strengthen your hip extensors, then maybe it is not necessary to go up and quite as high. And if your back gets a little more sensitive, modify the range and make the movement a little bit smaller. But you are training the proper patterns, which is to engage these movements from your legs, not from your back. If you want to improve your back pain, be sure to grab your free movement guide to pain-free back at the link below. Check out these videos, and if you like this video, and hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. Comment below how helpful you found this video was. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Happy mindful movement. Bye bye.